Good morning, grade 10 students. Today our section is about fighting infectious diseases. It's section 35.3 and this is part 1. Please open your books on page 1020. The objective is to determine how do vaccines and externally produced antibodies fight disease. Before we start learning what is acquired immunity, let's listen to this story. Edward Jenner, on May 14, 1796, took fluid that has cowpox from a patient's sore and he injected it into a small cut he made on the arm of a young boy named James Phipps. As expected, the boy developed cowpox, but he soon recovered. 2 months later, Jenner injected James from a fluid of smallpox infection. The boy didn't develop the infection, and thus Jenner concluded that the cowpox infection protected him from the smallpox infection. Ever since that time, the injection of a weakened form of a pathogen or of a similar but less dangerous pathogen to produce immunity has been known as vaccination. So, in other words, vaccination is a weakened pathogen or a similar and less dangerous pathogen that can be injected into humans in order for us to produce immunity. Acquired immunity is divided into active immunity and passive immunity. What is active immunity? Vaccination is a kind of active immunity that can develop as a result of natural exposure to an antigen. That is, if you have a specific infection, you get your immunity system to react to it by fighting. This is called natural exposure, or sometimes from a deliberate exposure to the antigen, that is through vaccination, whereby it can contain a pathogen that's either weakened or similar to the original one. By injecting yourself with this weakened pathogen, you will have an active immunity. Vaccination is a kind of active immunity. It stimulates the immune system with an antigen. The immune system produces memory B and T cells that quicken and strengthen the body's response to repeated infection. In other words, if you get the measles vaccine, the immunity system will memorize the antigen, which is the measles. Thus, if you sit next to a person having measles, these memory cells, the B and the T cells, will respond immediately if you get the virus. And there might be either no symptoms or you might develop very mild ones. Let's move on to passive immunity. Diseases can be prevented by using antibodies that are produced against a pathogen by other individuals or by animals that can be used to produce temporary immunity. If externally produced antibodies are collected and they are introduced into a person's blood, the result is passive immunity. Passive immunity lasts only a short period of time because the immune system eventually destroys those antibodies that are introduced into a human's body. Passive immunity can occur either naturally or by deliberate exposure. Natural passive immunity occurs when antibodies are passed from a pregnant woman to the fetus across the placenta or through breast milk. Deliberate exposure is when antibodies from humans or animals are being injected in an infected individual. For example, people who have been bitten by a rabid animal are injected with antibodies for the rabies virus in order for them to have an immediate response and to fight the infection. This is end of part 1, section 35.3. Thank you for your attention.